Halloween Ends, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Andy Matichak, Will Patton, Nick Castle, Rohan Campbell, Corey Cunningham, and introducing Corey Cunningham. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews, and today we're talking about the new film, Halloween Ends. But before we begin, if you could, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe, really would appreciate it. And without any further ado, this is going to be a spoiler-free video, essay, review, what have you. There's going to be an ending explained video on Friday that's going to talk about all the goods that you want to hear about, but out of respect for the people that don't want to be spoiled, I completely understand that. We're going to walk around that, and we're going to talk about the good and bad as much as we can without spoiling it. Let's get into it. So, starting with the positives. You can already see where this is going. Starting with the positives, I can say that this movie does have a satisfying conclusion to the arcs and the story points that are set up from the first movie in the trilogy, which is carried on into Halloween Kills and then concluded in this one. If you're going into this movie wanting to see that resolution between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers get to like a climax, no more cliffhangers, no more bullshit, we're done. If you want to see that conclusion, this movie is going to be worth checking out for you. You're going to like it. If you're a die-hard Halloween fan, which I imagine you might be, I think this movie is worth checking out in that respect. I think, it pays homage to a lot of the callbacks to the original film, as well as even callbacks to the trilogy, part 1 and 2. And it does feel like it does have closure. It could have very easily been like, but maybe there's going to be a part 4. Thankfully, they didn't do that. Not to give you any, spoilers. Like I said, it's gonna be spoiler free. And hey, they could potentially try to make a 4th movie out of this if they wanted to. I always wondered why don't they just talk about like making a spin-off with the granddaughter, pending that she survives this trilogy. Why not just use her as your jumping off point for the new generation? Make her the new final girl. But there is closure with Laurie Strode, Michael, the whole bit. With that said, let's talk about some negatives. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to dance around this because I have a lot to say in the spoiler video that I'm going to drop on Friday, which is aka Ending Explained, and it's going to have a lot of fun facts. But the problem I have with this movie is that Michael is barely in it. And I don't think that's much of a spoiler, that's a fact. That is not me spoiling the movie. That is a fact. You're going to hear that a lot. Michael Myers has like a cameo in his own movie. For a movie that's 151 minutes long, I would argue that Michael has about, I don't know, less than 10 minutes of screen time. We find out where Michael has been in the past 4 years. We find out, I don't want to get into too much of that. We have maybe 2 more scenes with Michael that he's featured. And then, of course, in the last 10 minutes of the film, we have the giant showdown that you kind of see in the trailers. Where Jamie Lee Curtis is getting thrown across the table, all that stuff. But in total, I would say that Michael Myers is only in this for about 10 fucking minutes. Who's the star of this movie? Corey Cunningham. Who is Corey Cunningham? Fuck if I know. He's new to the franchise. He's new to the trilogy. Has never been brought up once. I don't know, if you're gonna do this, at least mention him in part 1 or 2. But hey, they made a bold choice, Cotton, and they're gonna play it out and see how it works out for them. So essentially, without going into spoilers too much, something horrific happens. An incident happens, and Corey Cunningham, who's this young guy, is basically... Sorry, I got a thread on my shirt. I'll cut it later. Corey Cunningham is basically this kid who's at the wrong place at the wrong time, and now because of what people construe what they think he did, stories, gossip, what have you, Corey Cunningham becomes public enemy number 1. Essentially, the whole town of Haddonfield has been working against Michael Myers for 40 years, and after the events of the last movie, the town is essentially going, well, Michael's gone, but we want somebody else to mess with. And because this kid, Corey Cunningham, was involved in an incident that was very tragic, even though it wasn't his fault. They are using him as a punching bag, and oh my god, is he a punching bag. The entire movie, every third scene, this kid is getting jumped, you know, by bullies or, you know, whoever, and it's just kind of repetitive, and, you know, the movie almost feels like one of those situations, kind of like maybe 10 Cloverfield Lane, where the script was a script that was made for something else, and they took that script because they liked it, they put it in this movie, they added Michael Myers and Laurie Strode to it, they blended it together a little bit, but it doesn't feel like Halloween, you know, mainly because a lack of Michael Myers. And don't get me wrong, he's in the fucking movie, I just don't feel that he should be front and center on the poster because it's a little bit misleading. Same can be said about Laurie Strode. She's in it more obviously than Michael Myers. Well, not obviously. There's nothing obvious about the fact that Michael Myers was only going to have 10 minutes of screen time. But Laurie Strode is in this movie. She's the star of the movie. Probably after Corey Cunningham. I'd argue that we have more screen time of this Corey Cunningham guy. And basically, he's like the victim of society, right? Because he's being bullied and he's being pushed to his limits, and the movie likes to toy with the idea, and I won't get into this too much, but it toys with the idea of maybe he's got a dark side, maybe he's just ready to snap. You know, is evil nature? Is it nurture? Can you write your own future? Can you control it? Or is it predestined? It likes to toy with some of those ideas. Laurie is writing a book, kind of talks on that too. There's some narration in this movie that's a little bit, it's questionable. Makes you wonder if they added it later, kind of like a Blade Runner situation, to try to dumb it down for the general audience, which is a giant problem that I had with this franchise in Part 2. I just watched Part 2, Kills, and then I watched Part 1, 2018, and oh my god, did it make Kills feel that much worse in comparison. Now granted, this movie is better than Kills, but not nearly as good as 2018, but I wanted a Michael Myers. You know, if this is the final chapter, Michael, Laurie, head-to-head, heavyweight, you know, you want, like, really good kills. By the way, kills in this movie, they're cutaways. You know, you barely see them. It's a quick shot and it's something else. There's probably, like, one or two really good, juicy kills. Everything else is just kind of, like, implied. Reaction faces and stuff like that. This movie very much feels like a very popular IP that lost its soul a long time ago, and now it's geared to be shipped around the entire world. They make it really basic and simple, kind of like a Fast and Furious movie, so that they can probably dub it in whatever language they have to, and it works. And also, it feels like it's, you know, dumbed down so that it can reach the most wide audience possible. With that said, it also makes a lot of bold choices of, you know, like I said, this whole Corey Cunningham thing, who Allison is dating, and that's a whole other thing. The romance is so forced. A lot of both Kills and Ends has a lot of kind of fun ideas, decent plot points that could be fun, but just terribly executed. Like, they just took the first draft and they shot it. Some of the jokes don't land at all, and they feel very Danny McBride-esque. You know, I was getting some Eastbound and Down vibes, but not in a good way. And I don't know, guys, you know, it's just, I felt very misled by this movie. I wanted more. I found the story about Corey Cunningham to be interesting, but it just felt like it didn't belong in this movie. Much like how in the second movie, when they have the guy, the other escaped convict, and we kind of just pause the Michael shit to go follow him, and you're like, this feels like we hit pause and we're watching a different movie and it doesn't really gel. Why now are we tackling mob mentality? And it always, I mean, even in Halloween Kills, that felt pretty hollow. This is tackling, I don't know. I do think that this movie, you know, the idea of this Corey character being bullied and pushed to his limits and making you wonder, is he gonna snap? Some of the scenes where he's being bullied reminded me a lot of the movie Joker. You know, it's like, oh, society's to blame because Michael Myers ruined Haddonfield and now they're just picking on this kid. And I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Like, what is this movie? With that said, I've only seen it once, and I'm gonna watch it again. I'm not gonna go to the theaters, but I'm gonna watch it again when it drops on Peacock. And, you know, we're going to do an ending explain video. We're going to talk about all the questions that I still have after watching this movie. We're going to be talking about more about what they were going for, because I got some quotes from the filmmakers about what they were going for. All that's going to be explored, and obviously I'm going to be talking about the spoilers in this movie, and I'd love to hear from you guys. But for the sake of spoiler-free, this movie is, like, easily a 2 out of 5 stars for me. It's, like I said, it's better than, like, Resurrection, Rob Zombie movies, Kills, in my opinion. Although it's kind of, you know, you can go either way. But it definitely does not tie nicely to the 2018 movie. It's kind of a letdown. With that said, I was oddly entertained at times. You know, I don't feel, like, angry like certain people are on the internet right now. I'm not angry at this movie. I just feel like I walked into the wrong theater a little bit. And then they definitely make some bold choices with all the characters sometimes that don't always feel like it's warranted. Sometimes the actions don't make sense. It's almost like when they wrote the script, they had bullet points of where they wanted it to go, but they did a piss poor job of connecting dots from A to B. And you kind of wonder, what was the reasoning why these characters did it? Oh, because the movie had to get to that point. Even though it defies everything about the characters, the town, the setting, everything you know about the franchise. So, I don't know. This just felt like something that came out of a vending machine, you know? Just kind of cheap and lazy and not very good. But, you know, if you want closure on this trilogy, I think it's a decent watch in that respect. I'm trying here to, because, like, I'll admit, I was intrigued, I was engaged all the way through, even if I was kind of groaning at some of the flaws in the movie. I never felt like I wanted to, like, walk out of the movie. I was still engaged enough to be like, where is this going? So that's my take, you know, 2 out of 5. Join us back here on Friday. We're gonna do an ending explain and talk about all the questions that we have, all the some of the answers that I was able to find. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be fun. And also, Patrick Burrow reached out to me, and I'm gonna be going on his channel talking about it tomorrow at 3 p.m. Well, now, because, you know, you're watching this video after 3 p.m. That's when the embargo lifts for this movie. The fact that the embargo was so damn close to the movie coming out is very telling. And initially I was going, well, you know what? They don't want people to spoil it, even though the internet is going crazy spoiling it right now. I thought they didn't want to spoil it, but no, it's confirmed to me that, you know, basically this movie was done this way because they didn't want people to know that it was about Corey Cunningham and his trials in Haddonfield. You know, so I've been telling people walking out of the theater, I'm like, I wonder almost if, like, because the people in Haddonfield are so shitty, such dickheads in this movie, that you start to wonder, you start to question, maybe they deserve Michael Myers. They're such jerks, not even just to Corey Cunningham, but to Laurie Strode, for no fucking reason. Like, Laurie Strode is walking out of a grocery store, and somebody, like, runs up on her, and it's like, hey, are you happy with yourself? Because, you know, I have, like, a sister who was, like, a victim of Michael Myers, and we all know the story about how you just, like, tantalized him and teased him and pushed his buttons, and that's the reason why he killed all the people that he did, and it's your fucking fault. And you're like, what? Where did they get that from? In what way did Laurie Strode antagonize Michael to make him to do what he does? And it's just like, okay, so this is just, I don't know. Granted, there are dumb people out there in the world. That's what I kept telling myself. I'm like, you know, you read the news and you're like, yeah, you hear people do dumb shit, so I guess dumb in this movie is plausible. It just doesn't make it enjoyable to watch. It's kind of a head scratcher. So that's my take on Halloween Ends. And comment down below. Are you checking it out in theaters, or are you gonna go check it out on Peacock? I'd love to get your thoughts. If you want to put spoilers in the comments down below, just do me a favor and put, like, a little ellipsis or something like that, so that people scrolling don't have to see it. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been John here on Burns Reviews. Thank you so much. We've got so many new subscribers. I can't thank you guys enough. Channel's really growing. We're kind of on this journey to get back into Disney, because I reached out to Disney and they gave me a parameter of like, listen, you just need to have like, you know, 100,000 views a month. You need to have, you know, a couple different parameters, and we're getting closer and closer. So if you can give this video a thumbs up, if you can subscribe, all that fun stuff, all those goodies. And thank you so much for supporting me on this journey. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.